I have thus explained unto you. And you must know for certain, whatever there is, either as cause or as effect, both in the material and spiritual worlds, is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. My dear son, whatever you inquired from me, I have thus explained unto you, and you must know for certain, whatever there is, either as cause or as effect, both in the material and spiritual worlds, is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport, please here. The complete cosmic situation, both in the material and in the spiritual manifestations of the energies of the Lord, is working and moving first as the cause and then as the effect. But the original cause is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Effects of the original cause become the causes of other effects, and thus everything, either permanent or temporary, is working as cause and effect. And because the Lord is the primeval cause of all persons and all energies, He is called the cause of all causes, as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita as well as in the Bhagavad Gita. The Brahma Samhita 5.1 affirms, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachinananda Vigraha Anadir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. And in the Bhagavad Gita 10.8, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo Mata Sarvam Pravartate Iti Matva Bhajante Ma Buddha Bhava Samanvitaha. So the original primeval cause is Vigraha, the personal, and the impersonal spiritual effulgence, Brahma Jyoti, is also an effect of the Supreme Brahman, Brahmanohi Pratishhaham, Lord Krishna. Okay, let's do Mangalacharan. Om Jnanaatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishram Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mancha Kalpatarobhyascha Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitanam Pavalebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Bhuter Mahatbir Yahima Puro Vibhu Nirmaya Shete Yadamoshu Purusha Bhunkte Gunansho Dashasho Dashatmaka Sholam Kishishta Bhagavan Vacham Sibe. Shri Krishna Sharanam Sharanagatam Katha Amritam Satata Pibatam Bhakti Vedanta Marga Panthanam Sarvaloka Rishi Deva Janna Prasannam Sarvaloka Rishi Deva Janna Prasannam. Hare Krishna. So verse 30 will be a bit from 32 and 33 as well. So Brahma is speaking to Narad Muni about in this section of verses, and as I've said, it's Purusha Shukta confirmed. So basically it refers to all the topics that establish the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So sometimes as humans we tend to speculate about reality. But the truth is that reality is as it is. It's not subjected to our mental speculation or our estimation. So Bhaktivikas Swami says, reality is as he is, not as it is, and he is Vasudeva. So we can speculate as much as we want on the nature of reality, but the truth is that he is as he is, and we are subordinate to him, and that's the fact. So Srila Prabhupada would often make a point to, especially to non-Hindu or non-religious people that would be listening, and to people who don't accept Shastra. And he would say, he would bring them closer to Shastra by saying that in this day and age, no one is independent. He would say that everyone is controlled in some means, and this is true. We are all controlled by some power or someone. And he would used to say that we're controlled. If we're controlled, we're controlled by a person. And because control isn't impersonal, it has to be a person. So through this, he would prove the existence of God. And Prabhupada used to say that, do you know who this person is? And usually people would reply, Krishna. He's like, you know who this person is, but you can't debate to anyone else, or you can't tell anyone else that this is the supreme person or the absolute truth. I will tell you who God is. God is Krishna. And if you can find anyone else who can better fit this description, please suggest it to me. So Prabhupada used to insist everyone in the class that you should accept Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead or the absolute truth. And he used to say that this is the ultimate and only teaching that the Vedas is teaching us, that we should accept Krishna as a supreme person, the absolute truth. So a very funny thing Bhaktivikas Swami used to say again, he used to say that something needs to be seriously wrong with someone if they don't accept Krishna as a supreme personality of Godhead. So that's pretty harsh, because like a lot of people in this modern age, they don't accept Krishna. So everyone has something seriously wrong in their brain. But he quotes this verse. He says, "Namam dushkritno mudha prapadyante naradhamaha maya prapad jnana asuram bhavam ashritaha." So the words used here to describe people are dushkritana, which is miscreants, mudha, which is foolish, and nara adhamaha, which is the lowest among mankind. So the translation is, those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. So after listening to this verse, I thought Bhaktivikas Swami's statement sounded pretty nice, because they're calling us people who don't, not us, but they're calling people who don't surrender unto Krishna as the lowest among mankind. So once Prabhupada, he went to a talk show in America, and the talk show host was known to ask very intimidating questions that usually stumps the person. So everyone was telling Prabhupada, oh, you shouldn't go. But the reason Prabhupada went was he wanted to say Krishna's name as much as he can on the broadcast so that everyone could hear the names of Krishna, anyone who was listening. So that was his main motive. He didn't really want to prove a point there. But when he went there, the first thing the reporter asked, he said, you're coming to America and you're coming from India. What can you possibly teach us? We already have religious institutions. We have our own understanding of God. And here you are coming from a place where the death rate is so high. What can you teach us? And Prabhupada said, death rate is the same everywhere, 100%. So the man was a little taken by that. He was like, oh, this is a very good answer given. And there was a little pause, and he came back and he said, according to your cosmology, you say that the world is flat. So this man didn't have any knowledge of the Vedas or anything. And in the Vedas, it talks about how the plane of the solar system, all the planets, that is relatively flat. And this man thought that it meant that the earth is flat. So he would say that you said the earth is flat. And Prabhupada replied, everywhere I walk it is, which is also true. So this man was already stumped with the first two questions he asked, and there was a lady with the man, and she decided to take over, and she asked, how come you shave your head? And Prabhupada replied, why do you shave your legs? Prabhupada replied, everywhere I walk, he replied, better have warm legs than a cool brain. So both of these people are like completely stumped. And then one last question this man asked was, what would happen if everyone in this world became Krishna conscious? And Prabhupada replied, don't worry, there will always be fools like you who won't. And after that, Prabhupada talked for 10 minutes without being interrupted by this talk show host who's known for interrupting everyone who's talking. And when Prabhupada came back, he was talking to his devotees and he said, you said that this was hard, this was easy. I only talked for 5 minutes. So this is the level of humans in this day and age. We are mudha, we are foolish. If we think that in this day and age that there is something or someone who is on the same level or higher than Vasudev, we are foolish. So I'll go through the first tier of management or universal management that is given is the three heads, the three executive heads, so Brahma, Shiva and Vishnu. So each in such a, they all have such powerful control that in the Vedas sometimes they've been given equal status. But this is inaccurate because Bhagavatam explains that Vishnu is God or a full expansion of Krishna, and Brahma is a finite soul, and Shiva has been given a separate category as being the greatest of greatest devotees. So both Brahma and Shiva are servants of Vishnu, and they're empowered by him for the universal work. So Vishnu is in charge of primary creation or like maintenance of the world, and he controls the mode of goodness. Brahma is in charge of secondary creation or mode of passion also. Shiva is in charge of destruction and the mode of ignorance. So working under these powerful controllers, many demigods and devas, they're empowered to fill their duties. And it's like a government. They all have their different departments and they have to manage the delivery of water, electricity, but in their case, the whole world or the universe. So the devas, they oversee the material world. So we should not mistakenly worship the devas as God. We're indebted to them because they supply our life's necessities, but it's due to Krishna that they can provide us the life's necessities. So we owe our debt to them by worshipping them, but it is said that if you worship the servants of Krishna, Krishna is already, if you worship Krishna, his servants are all pleased. So there's no point, but there's, you'd rather serve Krishna than demigods. So Bhakti Vikas Swami gives this very good example. He says, as products in this Kali Yuga, we see everyone worshipping demigods and gurus, which isn't right. And we don't understand this because our minds aren't evolved. But Brahma understands this. In the previous verse, verse 32, he says, by his will I create, Lord Shiva destroys, and he himself in his eternal form maintains everything. So he understands that I create, but how do I create? By his will. In this modern world, Brahma is considered the most creative person because he creates everything. So in Vedic culture, if creativity is considered in this time like very sacred, or in the name of creativity you can do anything to show your expression of creativity. So once a person was in Rome in front of a very big building, and in front of the building there was a lot of garbage and everything. So this man was thinking, this is such a beautiful building, why come there's garbage? And he asked another person, he said, this is an art museum and this is an example of modern art. So Bhakti Vikas Swami laughs about that. This is the level of stupidity that modern age has come, that we're saying garbage is art. But real art is what Brahma is doing. So in Vedic culture, there's a difference between modern and Vedic culture in terms of creativity and art. in Vedic culture, if one can transcend the ancient culture and present that in a modern way, that is real art. Whereas in modern age, everyone is trying to come up with original designs or show their own ability. That's why there's so much, you see, everyone trying to come up with something new every day. So Brahma has understood that it is through Krishna's will that he can create and that Shiva can destroy it. So we need to understand that he is the real creator. He is the person with real creativity because Krishna is providing him that energy. So Krishna maintains everything. It is said, like the verse we read, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu, everything comes from me. It can't really be clearer than that. Everything comes from me. So in the Brahma Samhita or Svateshwara Upanishad, verse 7 and 8, it says, Tam Ishwaram Paramam Maheshwaram Tam Devatanam Paramam Chadevatam Patim Patinam Paramam Prahastat Vidama Devam Bhuvaneshwamam Midam Natasya Karamam Cha Vidyate Natat Samas Cha Bhyasdikas Tadiyate Parasya Sakatir Videdeva Suryate Swabhavika Jnana Bala Kriyacha. So here it says, the Supreme Lord is the controller of all controllers. He is the greatest of all diverse planetary leaders. Everyone is under his control. All entities are delegated with particular power, and only by the Supreme Lord, they are not supremes themselves. He is also worshipable by all demigods and is the supreme director of all directors. Therefore, he is transcendental to all kinds of material leaders and controllers and is worshipable by all. There is no one greater than him, and he is the supreme cause of all causes. It says that he does not possess a bodily form that, like that of an ordinary living entity. There is no difference between his body and his soul. He is absolute. All his senses are transcendental. Any one of his senses can perform the actions of one another. So, actions of another sense. Therefore, no one is greater than him or equal to him. His potencies are multifarious, and thus his deeds are automatically performed as natural sequence. So, it's a very beautiful verse. So then we'll talk about Shiva. So Shiva is among one of the most worshipped deities in India. So with names like Mahadev, the great god, or Nataraja, the king of the dancers. The fact is, he is supreme. It is said, Veshnayam Katha Shambhu, Lord Shambhu, which is another name of Shiva, he is the greatest among devotees of Lord Vishnu. So how can, Prabhupada always says this verse, he says, how can we worship someone who himself is worshipping someone else? So wouldn't you rather worship the top person? So it is said that according to Bhagavatam, Shiva is considered the greatest devotee of Vishnu, and Vishnu is considered the greatest god. From everyone and everything else, from him everyone and everything else manifests. So in the Rig Veda 1.22.20, it is said that the lotus feet of Vishnu are the supreme objective of all demigods. These lotus feet of the Lord are enlightening as the sun in the sky. So this is exactly what we're told in this verse, that we need to worship Vasudev because he maintains everything. He is a powerful controller of the three energies, like it says in verse 32. So it is in this modern age, like in this verse, it talks about impersonal and personal human beings. In this modern age, there's a very big debate that says that it's a controversy that the supreme is the supreme truth personal or impersonal. As far as Bhagavad Gita is concerned, Krishna is the absolute truth, and this is confirmed everywhere. It is stressed in Bhagavad Gita 7.7 that the absolute truth is the person that Krishna is, and Krishna is the absolute truth. And furthermore, in the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachinananda Vigraha, that is the supreme absolute truth. Personality of Godhead is Lord Krishna. So he's the premier God, the the reservoir of all pleasure, Govinda, and the eternal form of complete bliss and knowledge. These authorities leave no doubt that the absolute truth is the supreme person, not imperson, the cause of all causes. So an impersonalist, however, argues that on the strength of the Veda, that in the Brahma Samhita again, it says, Tato yad utkarataram tad arupam ananyayam ya etad vidur amritaste bhavanti ather dukham evapyati. In the material world, Brahma, the premier living entity within the universe, is understood to be the supreme among the demigods. Human beings are lower, and lower animals are even lower. But beyond Brahma, there is a transcendence who has no material form and is free from all material contaminations. Anyone who knows him also becomes transcendental, and those who do not know him suffer the miseries of the material world. So the impersonalists, they put stress on the word arupam, and by this arupi is not impersonal. It indicates the transcendental form of eternity, bliss and knowledge as described in the verse that I said. So another verse from Brahma Samhita, it says, I know that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to all material conceptions of darkness, only he who knows him can transcend the bonds of birth and death. So there is no way of liberation other than this knowledge. So it is said that there is no truth superior to the Supreme Person, because he is the supermost. He is the smallest of the smallest, and he is the greatest of the greatest. He is situated as a silent tree. He illumines the transcendental sky, and as a tree spreads his roots, he spreads his extensive energies. So from these verses, we can conclude that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is pervading of by his energies, is both material and spiritual. So how can we serve the Lord? It's a very good verse. It says in Bhagavad Gita, very famous, Save pumsam paro dharmo yatur bhaktir adokshaje ahetukya prati hataya atma suprasidati. So it says paro dharmo, the supreme dharma or the supreme occupation for all of humanity is yator bhaktir, which is we can attain the loving devotional service onto the transcendental Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. And this can simply be done by chanting the Lord's names. In this age of Kali Yuga, we are so fallen that simply we can only chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. There's no other thing that we can do. In this way, we can get rid of the bodily conception of life and become eligible to the Lord's devotional service. One can engage in devotional service of the Lord without being purified of all contamination. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 28. It says, Esham tvanta gatam papam jnananam punya karmanam te dvanta moha nirmukta bhajante mam drida vrataha. It is said that persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in the service with determination. Sometimes people are surprised to see young men and women take Krishna consciousness seriously by giving up like sinful activity like the 4 principles: no illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. And they strictly follow the instructions given by the spiritual master. They become purified of all this contamination from this material world. So they engage fully in the devotional service of the Lord. So once, very funny story again, by everyone knows the story of Ajamil, and once Maharaj was telling this, and a Prabhuji was telling this verse, and one of the students from university came up and asked the question, said, "Oh, Prabhuji, very nice class. My aim for this life is to become like Ajamil." And the Prabhuji's like, that wasn't the point of the story, that you should become like Ajamil. And Prabhuji asked, "Why do you want to become like Ajamil?" He said, "I have fun my whole life and then I go back to Krishna." And the Prabhuji said, "That's not how it works. You have to have your, you have to chant, you have to do all these different things before you can do that. He says, I have a backup plan. I'll name my son Narayana. And the Prabhuji's like, that's not the point of the story again. So that's the mental, like about people in this age. Like we're trying to find shortcuts into things. But the truth is we have our whole life and it's not forever. We only have limited time to do a lot of things. And the main thing that we need to focus on is our sadhana, which is chanting, eating prasadam, having darshan, everything. It is said that in this age of Kali, Hari Kirtana is very, very important. The importance of chanting the holy names of Krishna is stated in Bhagavatam, which is chapter 12, Canto 12, chapter 3, verse 51-52. It says, Kaler dosha nidhi rajan asti hi eko mahan guna kirtanad eva krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajet kriti yad dhravato vishnum tre tayat yato makaha dvapare paricharya kalau tad dhari kirtanat. It is said the most important factor in this age of Kali, which is the ocean of faults, is that one can become free from all the contamination and become eligible to enter the God's kingdom of God. And simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, the self-realization that is achieved in the Satya millennium by meditation, in the Treta millennium by the performance of different sacrifices, and in the Dwapar millennium by worship of Lord Krishna, can be achieved in the age of Kali simply by chanting the holy names of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Tagore Premanande. Tarinda ki jai.